What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Philstink YouTube channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be going through my AFL 2023 Round 2 tips and predictions. And obviously, as well as that, like we always do, we're going to be going back over my Round 1 tips from last week and seeing how I went. If you guys go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 400 subs by Gabaround, so if you can make that happen, that would be absolutely amazing. So if you haven't already, go down below and click the big red subscribe button. Also, remember to join my tipping comp. It will be in the description and in the pinned comment. If you guys want a chance to win a shout out and maybe even a sub from myself, assuming you have a channel, I will definitely do that. So whoever wins my tipping comp will win a shout out and maybe even a sub if they have a channel, that is. But anyways, without any further ado, let's get stuck in it. Alright, so just to recap, if you haven't caught up on the latest tipping video, I can confirm I got 4 out of 9 for round 1, which is honestly not the worst result, because a lot of people probably would have got about 3 out of 9 this week. It was a very tough round to tip, a lot of upsets. First game of the season, I did actually attend, so go watch my match day vlog if you haven't already. But it was obviously Richmond taking on Carlton at the MCG, and I'm pretty sure, well, I'm 100% sure everyone got this right, considering it was a draw. It was a strange game to be at. I'm still not sure what to feel after that match. I guess I'll take it, considering Carlton were up for majority of the match. And Richmond came back late, but nonetheless, it was a great game to be at. Second game of the season was between Geelong and Collingwood, and I'd arguably say in a big upset, the Pies, they actually got over the Cats in this one, so I did actually get that tip incorrect. I think a lot of people probably would have got that tip incorrect. A lot of people were tipping Geelong from what I saw. And fair enough, considering they are the premiers, but fair play to Collingwood. They really impressed me especially, and I'm sure a lot of other footy fans. Obviously knocking off the reigning premiers in round 1 is a great effort by the Pies. The third game of the season, the first of the Saturday matches, that is, we had North Melbourne taking on West Coast, arguably the most irrelevant game of the entire round. However, it was a really close game. North got up by 5 points. I did actually tip West Coast though, so that really put a dampener on my tipping, because that game could have gone either way. I think West Coast were down by about 30 points somewhere in like the third quarter, and they came steaming home to only just narrowly lose by 5 points. But yeah, it was a good way to kick off things for Alistair Clarkson and the Roos for season 2023. Moving over to the Adelaide Oval, we had the Power taking on the Lions, and we all know the story with this one. Port Adelaide actually steamrolling the Lions in this one. I did not see this coming. I don't think many people did. Port Adelaide, they're going to be a very dangerous team to play over in Adelaide this year. I did get that tip incorrect as well, so that's 3 incorrect tips in a row from myself. But then I sort of recovered a little bit here. The next game was between Melbourne and the Bulldogs, and I did tip Melbourne in that one. That was a pretty easy one. I always thought the D's would win that game, even with their outs. Like, I think Fritsch missed, May missed, Viney missed. Even with their outs, Melbourne, I still reckon they were going to win the game. They're just a stronger side, and I think they're probably the premiership favourites at the moment after round 1. They just look in superb form at the moment, the D's. It's hard to go past them. So yeah, got that tip correct, and then I actually tipped the Swans over the Suns. I think a lot of people were actually backing the Suns in this one, and I was staying true to the Swans. I do like the Swans. I am predicting the Swans to not fall off from their grand final loss last year, and they don't look like they're going to fall off at the moment, the Swans, because well, that was a very impressive victory away from home at Heritage Bank Stadium it's called now. I was about to say Metricon, but the next game at Giants Stadium, the first of the Sunday matches, we had the Giants taking on the Crows. Yeah, I did get this one incorrect as well. The Crows, I'm a little bit annoyed that I got this one wrong, considering the Crows were up by quite a big margin. I think it was like 20 odd points. And yeah, the Giants in the end just came steaming home with a wet sail, and yeah, ended up winning by 16 points. So I got that one incorrect as well. And then we move further down here. The next game between the Hawks and the Bombers. I tipped the Bombers in this one, and that was a pretty easy win for them, kicking their season off in sublime fashion. The Bombers, great win there from the Bombers, and I did get that tip correct as well. And the last game of the round was obviously between the Saints and the Dockers. I did tip Freo in this one, and unfortunately, the Saints did get up in that one, which I was actually quite impressed by how the Saints played. And I'm a little bit worried about Freo's forward line, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, there we go. That was my round 1 tips from last week. And now let's move on into my round 2 tips. Alrighty, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen, round number 2. So we kick it off on the Thursday night, but it's between Carlton and Geelong. It'll be played at the MCG, 7:20 bounce down time. Look, this is a huge game, honestly, for both these sides. Obviously, we know the Blues last week obviously had that draw with Richmond, and then Geelong. Well, some question marks were raised about Geelong last week, obviously being overrun in the end by the Pies in the last quarter. I actually think Carlton are a massive chance to win this game. I think Tom Stewart, the loss of him to Geelong's backline is going to be huge. Obviously, they've still got a lot of good players down there, the Cats, such as, De Koning and the likes. But Tom Stewart, yeah, that's a massive out for Geelong. And I think, they had a few other people go down in the Collingwood match. I think Stengel, I think he's going to play. De Koning did get injured, but he came back on. In saying that, I think I'm going to have to go Geelong in this one. I think when you just compare the two sides, I think Geelong's list is just a little bit superior to Carlton's at the moment. But if Carlton can get on top in the forward line and have that, that 5 to 10 minute patch where they really get on top and really stretch the opposition's defence. But I am going to tip the Cats though in this one. I think it will be somewhat close. I'm going to go the Cats by 13 points. Moving on to the Friday night, we have got the Lions taking on the D's. Well, if you had asked me about maybe even a week ago what the game of the year probably could be and the game I'm most excited for, it would probably be Brisbane v Melbourne. They looked like the two strongest sides coming into the season. But right now, I think it couldn't be more one-sided after last week. I mean, the D's, like I said, just looked absolutely superb against the Bulldogs. They looked perfect. The connection forward looks so much better. The Lions last week obviously copped a massive smacking to the hands of Port Adelaide, so they'll be hungry to make a statement in this game, the Lions. However, I think just the way the D's are playing at the moment, it's really hard to go past them. So as much as I think the Lions will be very good at the Gabba this year, I think I'm going to have to go Melbourne in this one. I think Melbourne are going to get over the line here. I do rate the Lions, and I do think they will come good. But I think if they start the year 0-2, I think question marks might start to get raised about the Lions. But I think it will be a really good game, though. I think it'll be a somewhat close and exciting game. I'm going to go the D's to win this one by 14 points. The first game on the Saturday, we have got an absolute blockbuster. These are probably the two sides who impressed me the most from round 1. We have Collingwood taking on Port Adelaide at the MCG. Now, obviously, the Pies came off a massive win against the reigning premiers last week, like we all know, and then Port Adelaide absolutely pulled Brisbane's pants down at the Adelaide Oval. So this is a really interesting game to tip though. However, I think just because at the MCG, I really like what I saw from Collingwood. Their small forwards looked absolutely elite. Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, just to name a few. And then you got McCreery and, the likes. Their recruits overall, the Pies looked superb. Tom Mitchell looked back to almost his absolute best. But I think just because it's at the MCG, I'm going to be tipping the Pies to win this one. I think it'll be a close game though. I think the Pies will get their first close win of the season. And I think the Pies will win this one by about 8 points. So I think it'll be a really exciting and close game to watch. Moving on to the second Saturday match between the Crows and the Tigers. The Crows, obviously last week, were kind of disappointing, if I'm going to be honest. I really thought they had the GWS game in the bag, especially towards the end of the third quarter. But then again, like a few other sides, I did get overrun by their opposition. And they went down to the Giants in pretty hot conditions, I'm going to be honest. And then the Tigers obviously had that draw against Carlton, which I'd arguably take as a win considering, like I said, the Blues had majority of the lead for the majority of the match. If the Tigers, play their best footy here, I think they're in for a big win. but it just doesn't seem to happen, especially against, a team like the Crows. We do seem to crumble away from the MCG, so this is the sort of game I could see Adelaide pinching. Like, the Crows at Adelaide Oval, they are just a different team there. I don't know what it is. I think it might be, the home crowd. When the crowd gets behind the Crows, and even the power to an extent, they're really hard to beat at that ground. I am going to stay loyal, though, and tip the Tigers. I think just when you put the two teams side by side, I think you'd probably back Richmond in here. I think, especially considering the Crows don't really have a tall star key defender in their side. I think Tom Lynch is going to be in for a massive day. I'm going to be predicting Tom Lynch to kick at least 3 goals in this match. I think he needs to kick at least 3 for us to have a good win away from home. And yeah, I'm going to be tipping the Tigers to win this one. In again, a very close game by 16 points. Moving on to the third Saturday match now. And again, another very interesting match, this one. We've got the Bulldogs taking on the Saints. The Saints, again, very, very impressive last week. I did not expect them to rock up to Marvel Stadium and put out a performance like that. It was absolutely great to see, the Saints. They've been down for a couple of years now. So, yeah, it was really good to see them get a win, especially for Ross the Boss Lion. But I think the Saints in this one are definitely a big chance. Obviously, the Dogs are not in the greatest form either. Obviously, getting pummeled by Melbourne last week. Although I think if the Dogs, they're going to get Cody Waitman back into their side. Rory Lobb will be missing for this game. So I think maybe their forward line might start to look a bit more balanced. However, the Saints' defense really, really impressed me last week. And I think if they can hold up the same way they did against Freo last week, they're a big chance in this game, the Saints. So, you know what? First upset of the week. I reckon the Saints are going to get this one done. Look, it'll be by a very small margin. I think the Saints, they really do lack scoring power without Max King, but I think their defense looked absolutely superb, like I said, against the Dockers last week. So I am going to go the Saints to win this one and start the season 2-0. And I think the Saints are going to win this by, let's say, about 7 points. And the final Saturday match for round 2, we have got Freo taking on North Melbourne. Now, I'm going to say this straight off the bat. Freo's forward line looked abysmal. I don't want to sound mean here, but oh my God, they could not score the Dockers against the Saints. And part of it was probably because of how well the Saints were playing as a defensive unit. But part of it was also because the Dockers had no forward structure at all. I can't believe the amount of pressure there must be on guys like Schultz, Fredericks, Witkowski. Like, those guys, there's so much pressure on those guys. I honestly feel bad for them. Whereas North Melbourne, they kicked off 2023 in the right way, getting over the line only just against West Coast, but nonetheless, it was a win. You'll take that 4 points if you're a Roos supporter. However, surely at Optus Stadium, surely the Dockers have to get this one done here. So I am going to tip the Dockers in this one. No disrespect to North. If they make a game of it, North Melbourne, then I'd arguably say that's a win. But surely Freo have to get this one done. Like, they had the easiest fixture to start the season, the Dockers. So there's no excuses. They have to be winning these sorts of games. So surely Freo get over the line here. I'm going to say Freo win this one by about 33 points. I think the Dockers will come out here and make a bit of a statement in front of their home crowd. Moving on to the Sunday matches, we kick it off with not the most entertaining matchup, you'd probably say. Sydney taking on Hawthorn. I think this is a pretty easy one here. I think Sydney just look in absolute superb form so far this season. Obviously, there were questions over whether they do fall off with the grand final curse and plummet out of the 8. But so far, that doesn't look like the case. They got a really good win over in Gold Coast last week and actually dismantled the Suns. I don't know what happened there with Gold Coast, but from what I saw, Sydney, they had an absolute day out in that game. Hawthorn just got completely ripped apart by Essendon. last week. They almost look spineless, to be honest, the Hawks, and I think they're an early favourite for the wooden spoon. So I am going to go the Swans in this one, and I think the Swans will make a big statement here. And the Swans will win this one by 46 points. The second last match of the round, we've got the Bombers taking on the Suns. Wow, this is actually a very one-sided tipping right here. The Bombers at 93%, the Suns at 7%. Honestly, I think this is actually a very interesting matchup. Obviously, the Bombers last week, although it was against Hawthorn, they did get a very convincing win, which will hopefully give their fans something to be excited about for the year to come. Where's Gold Coast? They looked pretty average, I'm going to say, against the Swans. I know the Swans are a very good side, but like they got to play better than that, the Suns, if they want to make finals this year. However, I think just the Bombers, you know, they've got the confidence. They've started the year off perfectly almost, and yeah, I really think the Bombers could start the season 2-0 here. They did win this game last year, the Bombers, quite convincingly. So, yeah, who's to say they can't do it again? I'm going to be tipping Essendon in this match. And I think, although I don't think it'll be a massive smashing this time, I think it'll be about, let's go 15 points. And the final game of the round, actually a somewhat interesting match, although somewhat irrelevant as well. The final match of round 2, we have West Coast taking on GWS. Now, I'm going to be honest, GWS really impressed me last week as well. I was not expecting them to beat the Crows. Even at Giant Stadium, I thought the Crows had that game in the bag at halftime. But then all of a sudden, the Giants got on top throughout the midfield and really exposed that young, inexperienced, still developing Adelaide defence. And West Coast, well, to be fair to them, they did narrow the margin to only just 5 points, so they weren't far off a win, the Eagles, but I think they were trailing by about 30 points at half-time, so you can't do that, especially against a side like North Melbourne. I don't think they're going to get back to their making Optus Stadium a massive fortress. I don't think it's going to be an absolute powerhouse of a stadium to play at like it was a few years ago, but I am confident that the Eagles will actually put in a good performance here and will actually prove themselves as a somewhat okay side this year. And I still believe West Coast won't finish in the bottom 4 so far. I'm not ruling that out yet. So, believe it or not, I'm not sure if this is an upset or not, but I'm going to go West Coast. I'm going to be tipping West Coast in this match. I just think at Optus Stadium, you know, the Giants also have a couple of injuries. I think Whitfield and Kelly were the two I heard at least. And yeah, I do think the Eagles, they're going to put in a good performance here. And I think the Eagles are going to win this one by, let's say, 19 points. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was my round 2 tips. So let's quickly go back over them. I tipped West Coast to beat GWS. I tipped Essendon to beat Gold Coast. I tipped Sydney to beat Hawthorn. I tipped Freo to beat North Melbourne. I tipped St Kilda to beat the Bulldogs. That's my upset of the week. I reckon the Saints are a big chance in that one, especially the way they played defensively last week against the Dockers. I tipped Richmond against Adelaide, although not confident with that one. I think the Crows could definitely pinch that. I'm tipping Collingwood over Port Adelaide, the MCG, to kick off the Saturday matches. And I tipped the D's over the Lions on Friday night. And I'm tipping the Cats over the Blues on Thursday night to kick off round 2. So there we go, guys. That was my 2023 round 2 tips and predictions. Remember to comment down below your tips for this round down below in the comments, and also comment below how many correct tips you got this round. Remember to join my tipping comp. Link will be down below in the description, and it will also be in the pinned comment. If you guys want a chance to win a shout out and maybe even a sub from me, then yeah, click the link down below in the description. And also if you need a code to join, I'll put that down below as well. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to leave a like, share and subscribe. These tipping videos will be coming out weekly. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Cheers!